In this video, we are going to be answering two questions. Do all players with 100 speed run as fast as all the other players with 100 speed? And if that is the case, which stats actually contribute to how fast you run in Dream League Soccer 2020? So I have these 11 players in my squad with 100 speed, and we're going to be doing a speed test. We're going to get all 11 players, line them up at half, run as fast as they can into the edge of the box, and see who gets there the quickest. So without further ado, let's get into the speed test. For this test, we are going to be taking the time it takes for each player to run from half to the edge of the box, like Bale here. We're then going to compare each player's time to each other, and then look at their stats to see why this outcome occurred. Now there is some human error, yes, because I might not have ran in a straight line as well as for others, and I might not have lined up at the exact same place at the half, so the start line could have been different. Since there is human error, I'm only going to be comparing players that have at least a 3-frame difference. So let's say one player runs 3 frames faster than another player. That's not a significant enough difference for it to mean something. Before we get into comparing players and seeing what stats matter, let's see who won the race and who lost. Badly, sorta. In the end, it was really close, but Hazard came out on top with a time of 6 seconds and 2 frames. Coming in second was Messi with 6 seconds and 3 frames. And then for third, it was a tie between Griezmann and Ronaldo for 6 seconds and 4 frames. Here's a side-by-side view for the top 3. As you guys can see, the results are so close that I would say these guys basically run the exact same speed. This is why I want to account for 3 frames for any human error. As for 4th place, Salah, Aubameyang, and Bale all tie, having the time of 6 seconds and 5 frames. In 5th is Neymar all by himself with 6 seconds and 7 frames. Then in 6th place is Mbappe with the time of 6 seconds and 8 frames. And then in 7th, we've got Sterling with 6 seconds and 9 frames. And in dead last, with a whopping 6 seconds and 13 frames, is Varane. I can't say I'm surprised. So let's answer the first question. Do all 100 speed players run at the same speed? No and yes at the same time. So I guess I didn't really answer it. No, they don't run at the same speed. If you're counting 6 seconds and 2 frames and 6 seconds and 13 frames as a huge difference. That was first and last. Here's a comparison of Hazard versus Varane. See if you can tell the difference. But any slight difference definitely is a difference in the game. So for the benefit of this video, we're going to say it actually does matter. So let's dive into question number 2. What stats affect the speed? So in order for us to do that, we are going to split all these players into 3 different groups. A fast group, a slow group, and a very slow group. Sorry, Varane. Let's look at the slow group and see what we can find in common that might cause the slowness of these players. So if we look at Neymar, he's got basically full-on 100 stats except for strength and tackling. So there's not a lot of flaws Neymar has. But what's really interesting is that Sterling as well has yellow strength, the same as Neymar. Now Mbappe doesn't have yellow strength. He's got 88 strength. But maybe he's just a bit of human error, and let's look at strength. Because if you look at everyone here, Sterling and Neymar are the only ones with yellow strength. So we might be onto something. But Varane has 95 strength, and he runs slower than everybody. So what could be the cause of this? Well, if you look closer, he's got yellow control. So we'll also be testing control for the second test. Now before we get into the second test, I want to see if there's any other stats that jump out to me here, and there's not really any. Because Neymar's got full 100 stats and his only weakness is strength, and he was one of the slower ones. The only exception being Griezmann, who's got low strength and not 100 control, and he was on the podium. He came 3rd place. But just like Mbappe, I'm just gonna say he's an outlier. I didn't do a very good job testing him, so we're just gonna let him go. So we are going to be testing whether or not strength or control has any effect on how fast they run. In order to do that, we are going to be racing two players with the same speed or similar speed, but drastically different strength and control, and see who runs faster. Messi versus Mertens. I chose Messi just because they had similar start positions, and if you guys can see, the race is super close, and they basically finish at the exact same time. So it turns out strength doesn't seem to matter. Fast and the slow group might have been just a full-on result of human error, and yeah. I mean, the biggest difference between them was 6 frames in 9 seconds and 6 frames in 2 seconds, and I'll show you guys the difference here. It might not be all that much. Could just be human error. So the strength was a bust. Now control, however, that actually might be a thing because it makes sense. You're dribbling the ball, you need more control of the ball. So the lower your control, the slower you run. So let's test that out. Mertens versus Ramos. These two have the same speed at 99. However, Ramos has 78 control as opposed to Mertens, who has 100. As you guys can see, Ramos runs significantly slower, so I think we're on to something. Ramos finished with the same time as Varane at 6 seconds and 13 frames. So that's 2 cases where control really mattered. But what it could be is that defenders just don't run as fast as midfielders and attackers. So how can we test that out? Cruz versus Cancelo. These two cards both have 91 control, and Cancelo is a defender and Cruz is a midfielder. However, Cruz has got less speed, so if defense really doesn't matter, then Cruz will run slower. And he does, by quite a bit. Cancelo had the time of 6 seconds and 9 frames, and Cruz had the time of 6 seconds and 15 frames. So Varane does run faster than Cruz. So let's circle back to the questions we wanted to answer in this video. Do all 100 speed players run as fast as each other? No. And if that is the case, what stats actually matter towards how fast you run? And the only clear answer I have is control. Everything else doesn't seem to have an effect on speed other than control and obviously the speed stat. We saw that with Cruz. He's got way less speed, ran less fast. So before I end off this video and tell you guys to hit like and subscribe, I wanted to see who could beat Varane in a race and how low your speed could be with high control, basically. So I have 2 players that I want to race, De Bruyne and Eriksen, who both have 100 control but lower than 100 speed. And I wanted to see, could they beat Varane in a race? Let's go. And we are off to the race. Will Kevin De Bruyne or Eriksen beat Varane in a race? And let me tell you, it is extremely close, but I believe De Bruyne comes out on top with first, Varane second, and Eriksen third. So I've come to the conclusion that control has a pretty big impact on how fast you run, since De Bruyne, who doesn't have 100 pace but 100 control, can beat Varane in a race. Even Eriksen, who has like 80 speed, came very close. So there we go. I answered the 2 questions we wanted to answer at the beginning of this video. So that's great. But remember, this was all done in training, and stamina and acceleration could actually have an effect on it as well. In a real game, your stamina bar could go lower the lower stamina you have, so you won't run as fast for a longer period of time. But in training, it doesn't do anything. Your stamina bar is always full. As for acceleration, when you upgrade your speed, your acceleration gets upgraded as well. So it's really hard to test whether or not acceleration does really anything, because there's no real big gaps between speed and acceleration. But if that's the case anyway, then it shouldn't be a problem. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys learned something from this video and you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this and for some online gameplay. Buy the merch, turn on notifications. I'll see you guys in the next video.